What is going on, guys? Craig 1287 here, bringing you my video weapon review for the L85A2. Now, I'm not going to be doing a review for the AK-12, only because it is the very first weapon unlocked for the Assault class, and I'm not going to be doing a weapon review for any of the other default weapons because they're default weapons. If you've used that class, you've used that weapon, and I'm sure everybody knows for the most part how those handle, and you've gotten a good feel for how they handle in your hands. So for this review and for all other reviews, I will be using the default weapons as one of the base comparison points for the weapon being reviewed in the video. So in this case, I'm just going to be directly comparing the L85A2 to the AK-12. I'll make references to other weapons and just general rates of fire, things like that generally, but here you will actually see in this image a direct comparison to the AK-12. I'm sure you can figure out what colors mean good and what colors mean bad, and what colors mean it's a close comparison between the two. So you'll see in those first two columns, you've got the two guns and they are naked, no attachments. On the third column, that is my general go-to for just it works for every situation. Close range, long range, middle range. The L85 using the compensator, and what I use is the angled foregrip. So if you're wanting to go stealthy, obviously don't use a compensator, use a suppressor. That's all personal preference. I don't want to get too much into attachments because they are very, very personal preference, but I will say why I use this setup, and it gets to deal with the L85A2's very special aspect. It's got a unique thing to it that many and most of the other assault rifles do not have. So let's get straight into it. Both the AK-12 and L85, as well as all other the assault rifles for the most part, all deal 25 damage max, 18. That's fairly common for the assault rifles. As for the rates of fire, the L85 has a pretty respectable rate of fire. It isn't the best, but it definitely is not the worst. As you can see here, the AK-12 has a lower rate of fire if you're not bursting. So that's going to help the L85 in close range. As well as it being a bull-pup, it does have a little bit better hip fire when moving and things like that. We'll get into that when we get down to the bullet spread, but that in conjunction with the 800 rounds per minute rate of fire that it has does make it a pretty good weapon for close range. And then for muzzle velocity, it's a little higher than the AK-12. That helps it a little bit in the whole medium to long range category, but this gun, it's a good jack of all trades, I feel. Again, that rate of fire helps it to do well in close range, and the only thing is the reload times. It doesn't have the best of reload times. You see here it has a 3.75 long and a 2.75 short reload time. Compared to the AK-12, that's pretty bad, and compared to some of the other assault rifles, that's pretty bad. It's not the longest, but it's definitely not the shortest. So you've really got to watch yourself when you're in these close quarters. Make sure you're listening out for enemy callouts and footsteps and things like that, and make sure that you're in a safe location when you need to reload. If you're engaging in a three-person fight, you take out two and you have to reload, you might as well just switch to your pistol, because that third guy is going to take you out. If he's starting to get turned around and whatnot, your reload is going to take longer than it takes for them to turn around and start shooting. Then looking at the recoil, now this is where the AK-12 I feel actually loses out to the L85. Now this is one of the things where you have to look at all of the stats of a gun. In looking at its recoil, yeah, the recoil on the L85 is a little bit more. The recoil for the L85 in terms of left and right, it's balanced recoil, which really helps for close range encounters if you're ADSing. It doesn't really help all that much for long range. Where this really, really is just an awesome gun is looking at its first shot recoil multiplier. If you look there, it has a 1.5 first shot multiplier. If you throw on that angled grip, that goes down to 1.005. That is almost nothing. The L85A2 is an amazing gun when it comes to burst shots. I know Level Cap recently did his video about the CZ805 and said that it was a tap firing king or whatever. I don't want to get up in his face and say that there's a better tap firing gun, but I'm going to go ahead and say that the L85 is a better burst firing gun, a better tap firing gun, because of that just immensely low first shot recoil multiplier. It is the lowest of the 25 to 18 damage assault rifles. The SCAR does have a fairly low one, but in terms of the 25 to 18 range, the L85 is just amazing. So you can burst this thing like crazy and pull off some fantastic medium and long range kills. And then finally, I want to look at the spread. Now, this is not something that's unique to the L85A2, but it is unique to the bull-pup rifles, is that when you are not moving, their bullet spread is a little bit higher, which is bad, than normal guns. As you see here, the AK-12 has a 0.2 spread, and the L85 has a 0.25 spread. But when moving, it's got a little bit of a benefit, but also with the hip fire. So if you're aiming down sight and moving, you're going to do a little bit better in terms of the bullet spread with the L85A2. If you're hip firing and moving or not moving, it's going to be better than the AK-12. That's just because it is a bullpup design. It has some amazing bullet spreads. So this is a great gun for tossing like a laser sight on there and just doing some fast action, very aggressive play, just getting some good hip fire and even some good aim down sight while moving bullet spread. But then at those medium to long ranges, because of that immensely low first shot recoil multiplier, this thing is a king in that regard. To an extent, it does still have more significant recoil than does the AK-12. It basically comes down to if you want a gun that has a balanced recoil versus a biased recoil, and by that I mean one of the left or rights has a little bit more. Now, for the AK-12, it's pretty much balanced. 0.15 and 0.1, those are so close, so it's almost like it is a balanced recoil. So overall, the L85 is a great gun in any situation. That's kind of one of the reasons why I picked this as my first weapon review. It's a great gun. It's got great rate of fire. It has your typical damage model. It has a little much for the recoil, but because of the first shot recoil multiplier, it's just an easy gun to use, and it's great at every range. It's just a fun gun to use, and when you get used to it, you can be really, really effective at so many different ranges with this gun. So guys, check out the L85A2. It is a fantastic gun. Make sure you're throwing that angled foregrip or folding grip on, because it will become a tap firing beast. Hope you guys have enjoyed this review. Hope you guys enjoyed the gameplay going on there in the background. Check out the gun. Have a good one. Ta-ta.